Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving straight into the actual architecture of emotional intelligence. We're unpacking some seriously fascinating research from Dr. Marc Brackett over at the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. We're going to explore that literal space between a stimulus, something happening to you, and your response to it. And I'm going to give you a highly specific, science-backed protocol to actually widen that space. Because let's be honest, if you've ever felt like your emotions are the ones driving the car, you're absolutely gonna love this.
Let's jump right in by confronting a trap that, frankly, pretty much every single one of us falls into. Most of us walk around totally believing we're in conscious control of our reactions, right? But think about incidental leakage. It sounds weird, but this is what happens when you think you're perfectly fine, but the stress from a previous, entirely unrelated situation is actually pulling the strings on your current mood. Your earlier frustration inadvertently spills over and totally poisons a brand new interaction.
We've all been here. You have this super stressful, difficult phone call at 9 a.m. You hang up, tell yourself, okay, shake it off, and you go about your day. But that stress, it's just quietly simmering under the surface. Then, hours later, you walk through your front door, and boom, it explosively leaks out over something incredibly minor, totally ruining a 6 p.m. dinner with your family. And the thing is, your family didn't even do anything wrong. They were literally just the victims of your morning leakage.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the incidental leakage trap. Second, the biology of overreacting. Third, the ruler framework. Fourth, the four-step meta moment. And finally, activating your best self.
All right, section 1. The incidental leakage trap. We really need to understand why these overreactions aren't some deep personality flaw, right? It's not a sign of weakness. It's an automatic biological loop your brain falls into when it feels threatened. But before we get into the nuts and bolts of that, just look at this incredible number. Longitudinal research shows that organizations adopting the specific regulation tool we're about to teach reduce workplace frustration by up to 40%. 40%. I mean, think about how transformative a 40% drop in daily frustration would be for your career or your relationships. This isn't just theory, guys. It yields highly measurable, real-world results.
Moving on to Section 2, the biology of overreacting.
So to understand how we can actually hit that 40% reduction, we got to look under the hood at the mechanics of our brains. See, emotions act as information and motivation. When you feel a sharp spike of anger or anxiety, you experience what scientists call an amygdala hijack. In this state, your brain just rapidly shifts into this black and white survival mode. Complex thought completely shuts down. You lose all sense of nuance, and instead you rely entirely on deeply ingrained bad habits. This is exactly why, in the heat of the moment, you might snap at your partner, or project your anger onto a coworker, or just totally avoid writing that difficult email. Your amygdala has literally hijacked the wheel.
Our entire goal here with emotional intelligence is to make a geographical shift in your brain activity. We want to move away from those automatic, habitual, survival-based reactions of the amygdala. Instead, we want to shift that energy over to the deliberate, logical, and conscious responses of the prefrontal cortex. Basically, we want to stop being victims of our immediate emotions and start making actual choices.
Which brings us to Section 3, the ruler framework.
To help us make this crucial brain shift consistently, Dr. Brackett created a really specific structure. RULER is this incredibly useful acronym mapping out the entire emotional intelligence journey. It stands for recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating your emotions. And this framework proves a really important point. Emotional intelligence isn't just about feeling more or being overly sensitive. It's about managing those feelings structurally. By properly labeling a feeling, you're actively helping to shift your brain's processing from that panicked amygdala over to the calm prefrontal cortex.
Okay, Section 4, the four-step meta moment.
Now we're going to get highly actionable. We're zooming in on the final R in that framework, regulating, with a core tool designed specifically for it. This is a brilliant 30-second procedure that acts as your personal everyday toolkit. It breaks down into 4 sequential, super powerful actions: sense, pause, visualize, and respond. It literally takes less than a minute, but it completely rewires how you handle stressful situations. Let's walk through exactly how you execute each of these steps.
Step 1 is to sense. Listen, you cannot regulate what you don't acknowledge. You have to actively notice that your internal state has shifted. Are you suddenly clenching your jaw? Is your heart racing? Has your posture stiffened up?
You kind of need to become a detective of your own biology and catch that subtle, dangerous, incidental leakage of irritability before it even makes its way out of your mouth.
Step 2 is to pause. And actually, I want you to literally practice this with me right now. Stop, slow down, and take a deep, long breath. Just go ahead. When you do that, you are quite literally deactivating your sympathetic nervous system. That's your fight or flight response. You are biologically forcing a wedge of space between the trigger that just happened and the words you're about to say next.
And that leads perfectly into Section 5, activating your best self. Once we've successfully hit the brakes and paused, we move into the absolute most transformative part of the entire protocol. Step 3 doesn't just ask you to calm down, because let's face it, that rarely works anyway. Instead, it asks you to visualize. You intentionally pull your mind completely away from the person or thing triggering you, and you invoke your core values for the specific role you're currently playing. You ask yourself, as a father or a spouse or a manager, how do I want to be seen and experienced right now? You align yourself with your ideal identity, like a feelings master or a well-regulated professional. Finally, step 4 is to respond. Because you took the time to pause and view the situation through the lens of your best self, you literally arrive in the room differently. Instead of snapping at your kid for leaving their shoes in the hallway just because you're stressed about work, you recognize the leakage. You choose an action that maintains and builds your relationships rather than actively damaging them. You respond by design, not by default. It's a total game changer. And hey, if you think this is all way too complicated for the real world, check out this amazing quote from a kindergartner. This student was involved in a playground dispute, and his teacher, Mrs. Johnson, came over clearly flustered and upset. Before he would even explain his side of the story, he looked right up at her and told her to regulate herself. He literally said, "Mrs. Johnson, I'm going to tell you what happened, but I need you to take a meta moment first." I mean, if even a 5-year-old understands that looking at a problem through the best version of ourselves completely changes the solution, we can definitely do it too.
So, emotional intelligence isn't just some soft skill, it's a defining architectural skill for success in absolutely every area of life. So here's my challenge for you. Tomorrow, the very second you feel that irritability leaking into your day, I want you to use this 30-second tool. Sense the shift, pause and breathe, visualize the person you actually want to be, and then respond. I would absolutely love to hear from you in the comments. Did a meta moment change your outcome today? Try it out and take control of that space between stimulus and response.